Earth was quiet that morning. No wars, no disasters, just the usual noise of a busy planet. But somewhere deep in space, something was watching, and it had already decided. It started with a strange signal. It wasn't random. It wasn't natural. It was cold, focused, and intelligent. At first, scientists thought it was some kind of star pulse. But then the signal repeated. The same pattern, the same rhythm. It was scanning Earth. Not just the atmosphere, but the ground. Deep underground. Governments didn't say much, but behind closed doors, they were scared. Military satellites were moved. Secret bunkers were activated. People who tracked signals for years had never seen anything like this. And then the signal stopped. No message, no threat, just silence. For 7 days, nothing happened. Until the sky broke open. It was like a tear in space. A massive ship appeared above the Pacific Ocean. Dark metal, no lights, no sound, 10 miles long. It floated without effort, watching the world from above. Cameras around the world turned to it. People came out of their homes. Some prayed, some recorded, some just stared. Then the message came. It wasn't spoken. It was beamed directly into every screen on Earth. We believe you are unarmed. Surrender peacefully. Resistance is pointless. The voice was cold, calm, like someone reading from a manual. But Earth didn't answer. The ship waited. After 1 hour, smaller ships came out from the sides, like insects from a hive. They flew across the globe, fast and quiet, scanning, measuring, recording. In a hidden base in northern Canada, a man named Dr. Keller watched his screen flash red. He wasn't military. He was a scientist, and he knew exactly what this meant. Project Echo has been triggered, he whispered. Everyone in the room froze. Project Echo was a defense system built in secret, hidden deep under the Earth. It wasn't just human technology. It was something else, something older, found by accident in Antarctica 10 years ago. Back then, nobody knew what it was. It didn't match anything in the known universe, but it was powerful, beyond anything humans had created. So they built around it, copied what they could, hid it from the world, and hoped they'd never need to use it. Now, it was awake. Dr. Keller looked at the readings, energy levels rising, patterns shifting. The system was acting on its own. This wasn't supposed to happen without command, one technician said. It's not waiting for us, Keller replied. It's reacting to them. Back in the Pacific, the alien ship hovered in place. It scanned the oceans, cities, power plants. It saw Earth's weapons and laughed. Primitive, outdated, no threat. It moved lower. That's when everything changed. Without warning, the ship flickered. For a second, it shimmered like heat on glass. Then it vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Gone. Completely. The sky was empty. No fire. No sound. No debris. Every satellite, every radar, every telescope reported the same thing. The ship had disappeared. People screamed. Scientists panicked. Military leaders demanded answers. And in the hidden base, Dr. Keller just stared at the screen. He saw something the others didn't. A signature. A tiny mark left behind where the ship had been. The signature wasn't human. It wasn't alien either. It was the same signature they had found 10 years ago, under the ice. The same code inside Project Echo. He turned to the team. We didn't attack them, he said. Then what happened? Someone asked. Keller hesitated, then spoke. They were erased. The room fell silent. Far below, deep under the Earth, a machine began to hum. A sound not heard for millions of years. Earth was no longer quiet. And this was only the beginning. 10 years before the alien ship vanished, Antarctica was quiet. A small research team had been digging under the ice. They were looking for signs of ancient life, old fossils, bacteria, anything. What they found was not alive, but it wasn't dead either. Buried 2 miles below the surface, they uncovered something metallic, smooth, dark, and warm, too perfect to be natural, too strange to be human. At first, they thought it was a meteor, but no metal on Earth or off it matched the readings. One of the scientists, a young woman named Dr. Lin, placed her hand on the surface. The metal glowed, not from heat, but from memory. That's when it began. Over the next 6 months, Top scientists and military minds were flown in secretly. The object didn't move, but it responded. It sent signals, tiny pulses, in patterns, like a heart, like a brain. Inside the object, they found a core, floating, untouched by time. And around that core was data, not just images or files, something deeper, ideas, language, energy maps. They couldn't understand all of it, but one thing was clear: this object wasn't built. It was grown. Someone or something had planted it here, long ago, before humans, before cities, before fire. It had waited until it was touched, and now it was awake. They called it Project Echo. They built a facility around it, hidden from satellites, powered by geothermal energy, no internet, no connection to the outside world. It had one purpose: defense, not offense, not war, just a shield. But no one could explain how it worked, or what it was protecting us from. Years passed. The world moved on. Then the signal came, when the alien ship appeared above the Pacific. Project Echo activated on its own. No one touched a button. No one gave a command. The system recognized the threat and responded instantly. In less than 5 minutes, the ship was gone. Dr. Keller stood in the main control room, watching the data stream. The system was quiet now, but it was listening. He turned to Dr. Lin. "Do you think it knows what it did?" She didn't answer. They both knew the truth. Project Echo wasn't just a defense system. It was an intelligence, a consciousness, not alive like a human, but aware, and it was learning. In orbit, satellites picked up a new reading, a spike in energy, coming from deep in the ocean. The same energy signature as the object in Antarctica. Something else was waking up. 3 miles below the surface, a massive shape began to glow. Not metal, not stone. Another structure. Another piece of the same puzzle. Back on land, leaders demanded answers. Was it a weapon? Could it be controlled? Would it attack again? Dr. Keller faced the cameras. It didn't attack. It responded. If the aliens don't return, nothing happens. If they do, he paused. Then Earth isn't as unarmed as they think. Across the galaxy, inside a high command room lit with cold blue lights, the Empire reviewed the loss. One of their warships had disappeared. Not destroyed, not disabled, simply erased. They had never seen anything like it. The Emperor ordered silence. No messages, no warnings, no panic. They would send another fleet. Larger, smarter. This time, they would not scan. They would strike back. On Earth, in the control center under Antarctica, the core pulsed again. New signals, new patterns. The team watched as a new phrase appeared on the screen. Defense Protocol, Stage 2. Keller leaned closer. Stage 2, he whispered. What's Stage 2? No one knew. The lights dimmed. The core began to spin. The floor vibrated gently, like something deep below was shifting. The system was preparing. For what? No one could say. Then came a second message. Warning. Threshold breached. Initiating global sync. Dr. Lin looked at the readings. This isn't just one system, she said. It's everywhere. The ocean, the desert, the mountains. Readings showed new spikes. As if Earth itself was turning on. The alien empire had called Earth unarmed. They were wrong. They hadn't found a weak world. They had poked a sleeping giant. And now it was waking up. Light years away from Earth, the Empire sat on its throne of silence. A system of thousands of worlds, planets stripped of their names, species forced into order, all ruled by one voice, the Emperor. He was not a creature of fire or rage. He was patient, cold, measured. That made him dangerous. For over 100 cycles, the Empire had expanded without pause. Planet after planet had fallen. Their strategy was simple: scan the world, study the threat, then strike fast, leave nothing. It had worked every time. Until Earth. The warship they sent to Earth was part of the observation tier, a standard ship. No heavy weapons, just scanners, probes, and a small strike force. It wasn't meant to fight. It was sent to watch and judge. When it vanished, the Empire assumed it was a mistake, a black hole, a system failure. But deep down, they knew something on Earth had removed it. Quietly, instantly. That wasn't normal. The Emperor ordered silence. No public reports, no panic. But inside the inner circle, alarms were raised. Earth was catalogued as a green-class planet. Simple, primitive, nuclear age, slow satellites. Unarmed space. So what had erased a 10-mile warship in 5 minutes? A new council was formed. The task division for Sol, named after Earth's star. They replayed every signal, every scan, every sound. They found nothing until the last microsecond. One of the ship's memory logs had survived, buried deep in a returning scout drone. It showed a flash, not a weapon, not a missile. Just a pulse, like a wave of static. Then nothing. The ship was gone. The Emperor reviewed the image himself. He sat in silence, his face unreadable. This is not a human weapon, he finally said. This is older. The room was quiet. Do we attack? A voice asked. No, the Emperor said. We erase, with fire. Earth would not get a second chance. This time, they would send a fleet. Over 100 ships. Full strike class, armor, shields, planet-burners. Not to conquer, to wipe out. They began to move. Back on Earth, Dr. Keller stared at the global energy map. Spikes were showing up in strange places. The Mariana Trench, the Sahara, the Amazon. Deep under cities, in old mountain ranges, each location lit up with the same pattern, the same signal, the same hum. Dr. Lin studied the waveform. It's sensing, she said. Whatever this is, it's building toward something. Keller stepped closer to the main console. How many locations? 19. So far. The lights in the control room flickered. The core at the center of the room spun faster. Then, it stopped. Completely. The hum went silent. On every screen, new words appeared. Defense protocol, stage to complete. Awaiting contact. Contact. Dr. Lin didn't like that word. Contact with what? She asked. There was no answer. Just silence. Above them, a satellite caught something new, a tear in space. Near Mars. Ships, many of them. The Empire had arrived. The command center went red. Sirens, warnings, emergency codes. Earth had minutes, maybe hours. Keller looked at the core. It didn't move. He reached out to touch it, then stopped. What is it waiting for? Lin checked the monitors. Maybe not. What? Who? She turned the screen toward him. One of the global signals was coming from a city, from a person. The system had found someone. Not a scientist, not a soldier, just a normal man, walking home from work, now glowing with the same energy as the object. Beneath the ice. Keller stared in shock. It's choosing people. Lin nodded. Maybe Earth's real weapon is us. Outside, the world held its breath. The Empire was here, and the countdown had begun. The skies above Earth began to change. They didn't crack. They didn't burn. They shimmered like water catching light. Silent waves spread across the upper atmosphere, invisible to most eyes, but not to the machines watching from space. The Empire's lead ship paused outside Mars orbit. It did not fear Earth, but something about the light, the silence, felt wrong. Inside the command center, Admiral Kuro watched the planet closely. He had destroyed entire civilizations. He had seen planets burn, moons split, oceans boil. But this was different. No missiles, no defense towers, no warning. Yet somehow, Earth looked ready. Back on the ground, the man chosen by the system, James Vale, stood in his apartment, frozen. He had no military training, no science degree. He worked in a hardware store. Now, his eyes glowed silver, and he heard a voice, not in his ears, in his mind. We have waited. His heart raced. He dropped his phone, tried to speak but couldn't. The voice continued. You are connection. You are signal. You are key. James stumbled to the window. His hands trembled. Outside, the streets looked normal, but in his vision, the world shimmered. Lines, symbols, patterns in the air, hidden before, now revealed. He was seeing the code of the planet, and it was alive elsewhere. The same thing was happening to others. 19 people around the world, young and old, from different countries, suddenly lit up with the same silver light. Some screamed, some fell to their knees, some smiled. All heard the same message. You are chosen. At the Antarctica base, Dr. Lin watched the energy readings spike. "They're sensing," she said. "Each one of them is carrying the signal now. It's like they've been activated." Double quotes. Dr. Keller stared at the global map. 19 lights, moving, changing, connecting. "Why people?" he asked. "Why not weapons, ships? Why them?" Lin spoke softly. "Maybe Earth doesn't fight with metal." On the Empire ship, a new alert appeared. The Admiral's second-in-command pointed at the display. "Sir, the planet's energy signature just increased tenfold." Kuro frowned. "Weapons coming online. Nor the energy is organic." Kuro's eyes narrowed. "Alive." "Yes, sir. And it's spreading." He stared at Earth for a long moment, then gave the command. "Deploy scouts. Begin orbital scan. Prepare strike wave." The Empire's fleet moved forward. Back on Earth, James walked outside. Everything felt strange. Time seemed slower. Sounds were sharper. The air itself was buzzing. And he felt something else, a memory that wasn't his. Images. Stars, creatures, machines floating in the dark. Then Earth. But not how it looked now. A younger Earth, empty, pure, waiting. And then something fell from the sky. Not a meteor, not a ship, a seed. James could feel it now. Earth was never just a rock in space. It was built. Not by humans, not by the Empire. By something older, something powerful. And that thing had left behind a message, a defense, not of weapons, but of will. James closed his eyes. He could feel the other chosen ones, linked by thought, by energy, by something ancient. They didn't know each other, but they were now part of the same force, a living system, a planetary mind. The real Earth. Not asleep, but waiting. Above. The Empire's scouts reached the edge of Earth's orbit. They saw no ships, no satellites, just clouds and light. Then, one by one, they vanished, not shot down. Just erased. Like the first ship, Kuro slammed his hand on the console. "Enough. Full strike. Burn the surface. Remove all life." He gave the order. Dozens of ships locked targets. The fleet aimed its full power at Earth. Back, on the surface, the 19 chosen felt a shift. James fell to his knees. Energy poured through him. Not painful, not loud, but massive. He saw space itself bend. The fleet above began to flicker. One by one, ships turned to light. Then nothing. The Empire didn't even get a chance to scream. Back at the Antarctica base, Keller and Lin stared at the sky feed. The threat was gone. Again. Keller whispered, "What are we standing on?" Lin didn't answer, because deep beneath the ice, the core pulsed again, and a new message appeared. Level 1 threat neutralized. Preparing for phase 3. Earth wasn't defending itself anymore. It was waking up. And something even bigger was coming. The Earth was quiet again. No fire, no war, no warning alarms. The Empire's fleet was gone, wiped from existence, without a single human weapon fired. But it wasn't over. Not even close. In the skies above, strange patterns shimmered like invisible ripples, and in hidden places all across the planet, new structures were starting to appear. Not built by humans, not made by machines. They rose from the Earth itself, grown like vines, shaped like crystal, humming like a song no one remembered. At the Antarctica base, Dr. Lin stood at the main console. The screens flashed with new symbols, lines that looked like code, but moved like language. "It's not just data," she said quietly. "It's a message." Dr. Keller stepped beside her. "Can you translate it?" "Not yet," she replied. "But I think it's telling a story." Keller narrowed his eyes. "A story," Lin nodded. "Of what came before us." She tapped a command. The screen shifted. New images formed, shapes of planets, stars, and beings unlike anything humans had seen. It began long ago, before Earth. Before the Empire, before even time, as humans understood it. There was a race old, wise, and silent. They had no name in any known tongue. The scientists called them the Builders. They traveled the stars not in ships, but through energy. They didn't conquer. They planted. Seeds. Worlds. Defenses. Every 1,000 years, they would find planets with life or potential for it, and they would leave behind something special, a living system, a watcher, a sleeper. Earth was one of those planets, but it was more than just a seed dot. It was a sanctuary, a last line of defense against something darker, something coming. The 19 chosen humans, now awakened, could feel all of it. James Vale stood in the middle of a field outside the city, his body glowing faintly with energy. Around him, the air pulsed with memory. He didn't know how, but he could understand the patterns, the symbols, the whispers in the light. It wasn't like learning, it was like remembering. Earth had been waiting for this moment, waiting for them. Each of the 19 could feel the same truth. They were not weapons, they were keys. Back in the base, Lynn turned to Keller. "There's more," she said. She brought up another sequence of images. The builders had not just planted defenses, they had also hidden a warning, a map, a signal, a countdown. The energy pulses seen around Earth were not random, they were markers. A chain of events had been started, one that would lead not to war, but to awakening. Keller looked concerned. Awakening what? Lynn hesitated. The planet, Earth itself, the land, the sky, the oceans, they weren't just part of a defense system. They were the system, and it was becoming aware. The builders had designed Earth to become something more if it was ever threatened, beyond a certain point, and now, after the Empire's attack, that point had been reached. The 19 chosen felt the ground move beneath them, not shaking, breathing. Like the planet had a heart. James could hear the rhythm. It matched his own. He closed his eyes, and he saw a door. Not physical, not real. A mental gate locked deep inside the planet's code. Waiting for the right mind to open it. He stepped forward in his thoughts, and the door opened. In that moment, every chosen one saw it too. A network across the planet, stretching. Below the crust, older than human bones. Wires made of light, structures shaped like thoughts. A living machine, dreaming. Until now. Above Earth, something else appeared in space. Not Empire, not enemy, a single object. Black, smooth, silent. Watching. Back on Earth, Keller saw it on the radar. "What is that?" Lynn read the readings. "It's not giving off energy. No scans, no heat." Then she stopped. Her voice dropped. "It's not a ship." "What then?" Lynn stared at the screen. "It's a witness." James and the others felt the same presence. It was part of the builder's system, a messenger, here to observe what Earth would become, to decide if humanity was ready. And if Earth's full transformation should begin. Back at the base, a final message appeared on the main console. Not a warning, not a threat, just 4 words. Stage 3, unlocking origin. The past was awakening. And the true purpose of Earth was about to be revealed. Asterisk. The stars above Earth began to blur. Not from clouds, not from dust, from motion. Space itself was bending. The silent black object, the witness, hovered in Earth's orbit, completely still. It didn't blink. It didn't speak. It only watched. Below, the 19 chosen stood in silence, spread across continents, oceans, deserts, cities. They didn't know each other by name, but they knew each other by thought. Their minds were now linked. Their bodies pulsed with the planet's rhythm. Something deep within the Earth had opened, and something older than memory had begun to move. At the Antarctica base, Dr. Lynn stared at the readings on her screen. The numbers made no sense. Energy levels far beyond anything nuclear. No known pattern. Just steady and rising. Dr. Keller leaned over her shoulder. "Is it the planet?" he asked. Lynn nodded slowly. "It's activating itself." Keller frowned. "For what?" She looked up. "For whatever comes next, thousands of miles away." James Vale stood at the edge of a canyon that hadn't existed the day before. It had cracked open during the night, silent, fast, deep. At the bottom, strange glowing shapes pulsed like veins of light. James stepped closer, and he saw it. Not rock, not metal, but something in between, like a skeleton the size of a mountain. Then it moved, only slightly, like a muscle flexing in sleep. James fell back in shock. The ground around him shifted, soft, not solid. Not Earth. Not really. He suddenly understood. Earth was never just a planet. It was a vessel, a shell, and now it was waking up. All across the world, signs appeared. Mountains cracking in strange patterns, forests shifting shape, rivers glowing at night, Old places, forgotten temples, deep caves. Dead volcanoes began to hum. Ancient signals broadcast silently into the stars. Messages not for humans, but for whatever had built this world. Back in the base, Lynn whispered what everyone was starting to realize. Earth is not just alive. She turned to Keller. It's a machine. Keller looked stunned. For what? She tapped the console. To protect something. At that moment, a deep vibration filled the air. It didn't come from machines or speakers. It came from the Earth itself. The chosen 19 dropped to their knees. The hum was inside their bones, and with it, a memory. Not their own. A builder's memory. Flashes of worlds being destroyed, stars consumed, fleets erased, a dark force never named, never shown, but always approaching. The builders had fought it, not with weapons, not with war, but by hiding. They didn't defeat the darkness. They delayed it. By building worlds like Earth, worlds that could blend in, go quiet, stay forgotten. Until it was time to fight again. Now, Earth had been found, and its countdown had begun. The witness in orbit sent a signal, a low, repeating tone across subspace. It was not a warning. It was a confirmation. The Earth's status had changed. Its defense system had moved to stage for. And far beyond the stars, something else heard the signal. It turned, and it began to move. Keller stared at the satellite feed. What did we just tell them? Lynn answered without looking up. That we're still here, in the canyon. James stood up slowly. He felt it too, a pull, a call. Not from above. From below. The Earth's core was shifting, unlocking. He didn't know how. He knew, but the builders had hidden something there. Not just defense, not just knowledge, but a final option, a last step. If the darkness ever returned, Earth wouldn't just fight. It would change, become something else. Something the galaxy had forgotten, or chosen to forget. The 19 chosen each began to glow brighter. The connection between them tightened. Their thoughts now flowed like a single stream. They saw the same vision. A world breaking apart, not from destruction but from transformation. James whispered, "It's a key." Lynn, halfway around the world, whispered the same. "It's a weapon." Keller looked at her. "What kind of weapon is built out of an entire planet?" She answered without blinking. "One meant to be used only once." The energy levels spiked. Again, the Earth's crust began to flex. The oceans grew still. The wind stopped. And then a deep, ancient voice one no human had ever heard echoed across the minds of the chosen. Awakening final form. The skies went dark. The ground began to rise. And Earth's secret was almost ready to be revealed. The sky was no longer blue. It had turned silver. Clouds froze in the air like glass. Oceans stilled. Every mountain, tree, and city sat quiet waiting. Across the planet, people stared up, holding their breath. They didn't understand what was happening, but they knew it was not normal. The 19 chosen stood in different corners of the world, yet they moved as one. Their bodies pulsed with light. Their minds were now fully joined not just to each other, but to something deeper. To the planet itself. Earth was no longer asleep. It had changed. Beneath the surface, ancient mechanisms the size of cities had unlocked. Plates of the crust moved with strange precision. Magnetic fields danced in perfect rhythms. And far below the molten core, something massive had come online. A structure older than the moon. A heart. James Vale stood on a cliff overlooking the sea. But it wasn't a sea anymore. The water had parted like a curtain, revealing massive circular patterns beneath glowing with energy. He could hear a voice, not words, not language, a presence. The builders, they weren't here physically, but their memory, what they had been, lived inside the system they left behind. The message was clear. The darkness is returning. In orbit, the witness still silent, still black-turned. Its single red light blinked for the first time. It had seen enough. And now, others had seen it too. Far beyond the edge of the galaxy, something stirred. A shape, hidden in shadows. It was not a fleet. It was a force. The same one the builders had feared. The same one that had erased 1,000 worlds before Earth ever existed. And now, it was coming. Faster than light, faster than thought. Dr. Keller stood in the base, staring at the last transmission from the witness. Lynn read it out loud. One word. He looked at her. "What is it?" She answered, "Prepare." The earth began to rise. Not in small ways, in impossible ways. Entire continents shifted position. Oceans turned into walls. The poles melted in reverse ice, forming towers instead of rivers. The world was not breaking, it was rebuilding, changing form. The planet itself was no longer just a home. It was a being, a machine, a final answer. The 19 chosen levitated into the air. Energy flowed through them like stars caught in a current. They weren't pilots, not operators. They were the interface. Human will, connected to alien design. They weren't chosen because of skill. They were chosen because of balance, emotion, intuition, imperfection. The builders had created the machine, but only life could give it purpose. James felt the final lock break. A deep sound like a drum in the bones of the world rippled outward. Every living thing on Earth felt it, from the smallest insect to the tallest human. The Earth was no longer just turning, it was awakening. A giant shape formed across the crust, not visible in full from the ground, but from space. It was clear. The planet was folding, revealing panels of light, shielded layers, wings that were mountains. Earth was a ship, a world ship. The last one, built by the builders as a last line of defense, hidden in plain sight, evolved to appear as a simple, silent planet, until it was time. That time was now. James and the others floated high above the surface. They could feel it all, gravity shifting, fields aligning, stars pulling closer. The dark force had arrived. A hole tore open in space, and from it, the enemy poured through. Not ships, not soldiers, just darkness. Alive, thinking, hungry. Keller watched from the base. "We don't have weapons," he whispered. Lynn answered, her voice shaking. "Yes, we do. The planet is the weapon." The 19 connected fully. The Earth pulsed, and light exploded across the system. Not fire, not lasers, but a wave of energy, pure will, pure memory, pure meaning. The builder's final message sent directly into the void. "You will not erase." U.S. The darkness struck, and for a moment, space itself screamed. Then silence. When the light faded, the hole in space was gone. The darkness erased, not killed, not destroyed. Denied. The Earth slowed. The sky returned to blue. The continents settled. The oceans flowed again. The world began to breathe like it once had. But everything had changed. The chosen 19 returned to the ground. Changed forever. The witness in orbit sent its last signal. Earth verified. Threat neutralized. Legacy preserved. And then it vanished. Back on the ground, James stood beneath the stars. He looked up. The planet was quiet again. But it wasn't the same. People would forget what happened. Governments would try to explain it. Science would search for answers. But some would remember. Earth had been more than a home. It had been a choice, a shield, a message, and now a guardian, not just of humanity, but of life itself. The last world had awakened, and it had won.